When you had conversations with Dana White, and again, I don't want to insinuate that I'm suggesting that Dana would necessarily fix fights, but Dana is a fight promoter, and he understands that Mike Tyson didn't, become the big megastar by immediately jumping into what I guess you would call deep water. You're not going to make the super fight one. You're going to build the legend, make this guy a big draw, make him look like an unbeatable machine, just like they did with Ronda Rousey. And then eventually, unfortunately, it's just a part of the fight game. Everyone loses. And when that happens, you have to figure out, okay, how do we get him back on track? Did you have a conversation with Dana about, I don't mean to say that they were going to fix the fights, but they were going to give you some rather easier opponents for your style to get you started and make you this mega draw and then set up a super fight? Did you have that type of conversation?
Yeah, in a roundabout way. He wasn't very specific on saying, hey, we're going to protect you when we start. Right. But the opponent that he gave me at the beginning when we were going to start was a good opponent, very intriguing from a public interest standpoint, especially a pro wrestling fan standpoint, and very intriguing because he didn't have a lot of experience in MMA. He only fought a couple times, but I had a little episode with him in the WWE. That was Daniel Puder. And when Dana said that to me, I was like, you serious? That's all? Just Daniel Puder? Not that I thought that Daniel was easy, because, he had my arm trapped. He could have broke my arm when we did our little episode on SmackDown, but I knew that I could beat Daniel Puder, and especially if I rested and let my neck heal. When I worked with Daniel Puder in WWE, I just got back from my neck surgery, and my arms were so weak I couldn't do 5 push-ups.
Wow,
really vulnerable. And I'm not sure why the WWE had me get in the ring with Daniel Puder, knowing that my condition, but they did. And, I ended up getting caught in a situation that it could have been turned ugly, but fortunately, Daniel pinned himself when it happened. He was on his back, just like a jiu-jitsu guy would be. But
sure.
it was about pinning your opponent. That's what the competition was. And Daniel was trying to tap me out. So he didn't understand the rules. But he did catch me, and I knew that, and I knew I was very capable of being caught again, but I was going to make sure he didn't. So I was excited about the first fight. Daniel Puder, formidable opponent for me at that particular time, not too overbearing, not somebody that was well known in MMA. It was a good starting fight for me. So I knew Dana was caring about my career in the MMA, because he was giving me an opponent that I could possibly beat.
And he was being a good promoter, because if you were a hardcore wrestling fan, you knew the backstory.
It was huge. Yes,
absolutely.
Make a lot of money with that story. Yeah.
And just to add context to that, Dana wouldn't allow you to, because he didn't want people to assume that the UFC was a work or fixed, because that rumor had been out there for the Japanese sort of counterpart, whether it was Pride or K1 or whatever. There were whispers that, well, the Yakuza's involved and all these other conspiracy theories. These aren't on the up and up legitimate fights. Dana didn't want any hint of that in the UFC, right?
No, he didn't. He wanted to make sure that everybody knew it was legitimate. And he was going to make sure that would happen.
So I'm curious, when you first start training jiu-jitsu, I'm sure there had to be some guys when you go into that local Pittsburgh fight club who were looking at each other thinking, wait, he doesn't know any jiu-jitsu. I want to roll with him first because I want to tell my friends I tapped out Kurt Angle. That had to happen, right?
Actually, no. I trained with the trainer, the head trainer there every day, just him and I. So he was just teaching me moves, setups to submissions, how to, get into the guard. What's the safest way to do it? How to fight from underneath, how to fight from on top. So we just worked out a lot of technique. We didn't spar very much, but we also worked on stand-up fighting, boxing, kicking, kicks. We did a lot of stuff, but it was mainly just training, sparring.
it's just fascinating to me when a guy like you, who has literally lived his entire life, whatever you do, don't find yourself in this position. And now all of a sudden in jiu-jitsu, it's like, oh no, that's fine. It's okay to start there. That's a weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Being on your back is
the
weirdest thing in the world when you're an amateur wrestler, because that's the last place you want to be. But if, in jiu-jitsu, you're comfortable down there, and you can attack from down there, and you can actually submit somebody from underneath. So it's totally the opposite. And that's why they don't mesh very well together when you have a wrestler and a jiu-jitsu guy face each other. The wrestler's going to take them down and dominate, but the jiu-jitsu guy is going to eventually catch him in some submission.
Because he's comfortable down there. And I'm curious, in your training, were you learning with a gi or without a gi?
Without a gi.
Yeah, because that's what it would have been if you were in an actual fight on pay-per-view or what have you.